With the end of the NHL season quickly approaching, today we're going to jump on and play with Tankathon.com's Draft Lottery Simulator and take a look ahead to the 2021 NHL Draft. We'll simulate and pick the top 10 selections, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, today we're going to run the Draft Lottery Simulator for the upcoming 2021 NHL Draft. At this point in the season, teams like Anaheim, Detroit, the Ottawa Senators, the Buffalo Sabres are in the running here for the first overall pick near the bottom of the standings. Of course, the Seattle Kraken are going to be in the mix as well in their first ever NHL Draft. They're going to be given the third best odds for the draft lottery here as well for the Kraken's first inaugural draft season. So we're going to hop onto the computer. We're going to run a simulation through Tankathon.com, which will simulate the draft order. And then I'm going to give you who I feel will be the top 10 selections based on where the teams land. And we'll go from there. So certainly leave me your comments down in the comments who you're hoping for to get the first overall pick. And let me know what your thoughts are on some of these prospects and where you think they're best suited to go at the draft. Okay, so here we are on Tankathon.com to run the NHL Draft Lottery Simulation. So obviously we have the teams ranked here in order from the bottom of the standings up. So right now the Sabres have the best odds. The Senators at number 2, Seattle number 3, Anaheim number 4, New Jersey 5, and so on here. So let's run the simulation and let's see what happens. Boom, the Ottawa Senators end up number 1. Seattle ends up number 2. The Buffalo Sabres end up dropping down, and they get that third spot. Anaheim goes to 4. New Jersey at 5. Detroit at 6. Columbus at 7. LA at number 8. Vancouver at number 9. And the Sharks at number 10. So we're only going to do the top 10 selections here for today. So that's as far as we're going to go, but that's certainly some interesting results there. So let's now take a look here at who I feel are going to be the best selections for these teams with these top 10 picks. With the first overall selection, the Ottawa Senators would definitely select Owen Power from the University of Michigan. Too good of an opportunity here to pass this up, even though they've really done well with drafting defensemen here in recent drafts, including Jake Sanderson this past draft 2020, but at 6'5", 214 pounds, the Canadian-born defenseman is just an absolute beast. Drawing comparison to guys like Victor Hedman in Tampa, this is too good of an opportunity for them to pass up here. You combine him with guys like Chabot and Sanderson and Jacob Bernard-Docker, and this team will be stacked on the blue line for years to come. With the number 2 overall pick, the Seattle Kraken with their first pick will take Luke Hughes with the first pick in franchise history. Now, of course, Luke is the younger brother. I'm sure you figured it out. In case you don't know, of Quinn and Jack Hughes, both tremendous hockey players in their own right. So he is a defenseman, a little bit more comparable to Quinn than Jack, of course, but still not the exact same kind of defenseman here as his brother. But he will be going to the same situation here with school. He's going to be attending the University of Michigan. Luke Hughes is currently 6'2", 176 pounds, still not quite 18 years of age, and could be the good building block here for the Seattle to build their blue line with. The third overall pick, the Buffalo Sabres will take another defenseman, Simon Edvinsson. Of course, the Buffalo Sabres are certainly going to be needing a variety of things, and a lot of their needs are going to be determined by what trades they make this offseason. But still, their blue line could use work as well as the forward group. But the Sabres will take Edvinsson here, 6'4", 185 pounds, another Swedish defenseman, somebody who can hopefully play with Rasmus Dahlin back there. Clearly, another building block to have a really solid blue line for years to come. Obviously, the future of Jack Eichel will be highly considered here in what they do with this selection as well. But I think we're going to see a run on defensemen, and the Sabres are going to take Edvinsson here at number 3. The fourth overall pick, the Anaheim Ducks are going to take American-born center from the University of Michigan, Matthew Beniers. Beniers is a really solid center iceman. Hard to say if he projects to be a number 1 center, but certainly a top 6 center for sure, in my opinion. He had a pretty solid year, putting up a point per game total with the University of Michigan this past year in the NCAA. Had a pretty good tournament for the USA at the World Juniors as well. So depending on who picks where for the real draft, I think he'll go anywhere from like 3, 4, 5, 6 range. But Beniers is arguably one of the better forwards and centers available in this draft, and I think would be a good fit here for the Anaheim Ducks. The 5th overall pick, the Devils are going to take defenseman Brandt Clarke. Now, Brandt Clarke, another Canadian-born defenseman from the OHL Barrie Colts. Of course, the OHL is yet to return to play this year, so it's hard to say how much of him we're going to get to see. He did go over and play in Slovakia for a while this year. He's put up 16 points in 26 games in the Slovakian league. But Clarke, at some time throughout the year, depending on where you look through for ranking systems, will go anywhere between 2 to 5 to 6. It's like he's going to be a pretty high pick, but there's certainly a lot more defensemen available in this year's draft. So depending on what each team kind of sees as a better fit, will determine where they go. But Clarke will be a tremendous help in New Jersey. They've got a lot of great young forwards, and they certainly need to focus on their back end in this draft. At the number 6 overall pick, the Detroit Red Wings will take the best goalie in the draft. He's going to go pretty high here. Jesper Wallstedt, of course, is a 6'3", 214-pound Swedish goaltender. Really good selection here for Detroit. They've had some high picks here recently, but the goaltending for the future for Detroit is a major question mark. They have an opportunity here to grab a guy like Wallstedt. Makes a tremendous pickup for them, really. Overall, I think he's one of the guys that would be best fit here for Detroit. Put up some pretty good numbers playing in Sweden this past year. Had a chance to go with the Swedish team to the World Junior Championships, play a couple of games there as well, and I think would be a huge help for the rebuilding Red Wings. At number 7 overall, the Columbus Blue Jackets will select William Eklund, the Swedish-born center/winger here, would be an excellent fit, I think, for Columbus. He's not an overly huge guy, 5'10", 172 pounds, and the Columbus Blue Jackets, in my opinion, kind of need a little bit of everything as well. They could be solid in goal for a while, depending on what they do with their goaltending. They do have some really good defensemen that could be the building blocks for the blue line for a while. So the focus on the forward group here, I think, probably makes a little bit more sense. In this past year in the SHL, he put up 23 points in 40 games playing for Djurgårdens. Really, overall, pretty solid forward here, and depending on who picks where will determine where he goes based on need, but Eklund would be a great choice for Columbus. At number 8 overall, the LA Kings will be selecting Dylan Guenther of the Edmonton Oil Kings of the Western Hockey League. The Canadian-born left-wing prospect here, 6'1", 170 pounds. The Kings are absolutely stacked with their prospect pool, so I think they'll definitely go with what they feel to be best player available. I think it's fair to say that he could be selected here with that selection, with that rationale, but they could go a different direction as well. But the Kings are absolutely stacked, so I don't think it really matters too much what they do. They could go in a variety of directions, so I just think they'll go with best player available no matter where they end up. At the number 9 selection, the Vancouver Canucks will select Kent Johnson, the Canadian-born player, going to the University of Michigan, 6'1", 165. Certainly needs to put a little bit more weight on and get a little bit stronger here, but he had a really solid year this past year in Michigan. Over a point per game, 27 points in 26 games. I would really prefer the Canucks to really focus on their blue line here. They have a lot of good young forwards, but at the same time, based on what's available, I think a lot of the top defensemen are gone at this point. I think the Canucks just didn't have a good enough luck that they're picking too low to really get a good solid D. So I think some of these forwards are just too good to pass up. So I think Johnson would be a great fit for what they have there to add to a pretty dynamic forward group that they've already have to work on in the Canucks organization. With the number 10 overall selection, the San Jose Sharks will take Fabian Lysell, the left winger from Frölunda in Sweden. I think he'd be a good fit for the Sharks, who could certainly use some help with the forward group. They need to go through a bit of a reset here, although a guy like Lysell likely would be a year or two away, I think, from making the jump all the way to the NHL, but he had a pretty decent year so far. Hasn't played a ton of hockey like a lot of these guys. Played 26 games in the SHL this year. Didn't put up a ton of points, but it's, for a guy his age, they typically don't see pretty high point totals. He's a guy who certainly needs to work on getting a little stronger as well. But I think with the Sharks, where they're at with everything, I think Lysell would be a nice pick for them here. I mean, they could go in a different direction and go with Atu Ratu. That's another option here as well, and some other good prospects. But I think Lysell would be who they would pick. So those are my top 10 selections. Again, of course, I want to know what you think down below, so let me know your thoughts on the prospects, who you're hoping for number 1 overall, and we'll discuss further down in the comments. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.